Have you ever wondered why Russia, a Eurasian country, is increasingly establishing its presence in Africa? This question might sound peculiar, but the answer lies in the complex web of geopolitics and strategic interests. It's a story of nuclear power, military cooperation, resource extraction, and more, unfolding on a continent that has been a theater of global power plays for centuries. Russia's ventures into Africa are not a recent phenomenon, but there's been a noticeable uptick in recent years. These endeavors are not merely economic, they're strategic chess moves on the geopolitical board. It's a subtle game of influence and alliances, where every move contributes to a broader narrative. The United States, a long-standing power in Africa, is keeping a wary eye on Russia's activities. It's not a secret that Africa holds significant strategic importance, with its vast resources, burgeoning markets, and geopolitical relevance. Russia's growing influence, therefore, has the potential to reshape the balance of power, raising the stakes in the competition with the United States. But it's not just about power dynamics. Russia's involvement in Africa spans various sectors, from nuclear energy to agriculture, from space exploration to cultural exchanges. It's a multifaceted engagement that goes beyond traditional power politics, tapping into the potentials of cooperation and mutual growth. Yet, these ventures are not without controversy. Questions abound about the implications of Russia's growing footprint on Africa's sovereignty, development, and international relations. Critics argue that this increased presence may lead to a new form of dependency, while proponents see it as an opportunity for Africa to diversify its partnerships and drive its development agenda. So, what exactly are these Russian projects in Africa that are causing a stir globally? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the Russian enigma in Africa, exploring the various projects and initiatives that are reshaping the continent's geopolitical landscape. First on the list, we have nuclear energy cooperation. Imagine the potential of harnessing the immense power of the atom. This is the vision Russia has for Africa. It has inked several agreements with African nations like Egypt, Ghana, and Nigeria, with the aim of constructing nuclear power plants. Now, why nuclear energy, you ask? Well, nuclear energy offers a reliable and large-scale power source, which can significantly bolster the energy security of these nations. Moreover, it provides a low-carbon alternative to fossil fuels, aligning with global efforts to combat climate change. But these agreements aren't merely about providing energy. They represent a strategic partnership, a bond that goes beyond the realm of power generation. By sharing its nuclear technology and expertise, Russia is carving a space for itself in the evolving energy landscape of Africa. This move not only strengthens Russia's influence in the region, but also creates a web of interdependencies that could potentially alter the geopolitical dynamics of Africa. But it's not just nuclear energy that Russia is investing in. Let's delve into Russia's military cooperation and resource extraction initiatives in Africa. Russia's military footprint across Africa is indeed a fascinating study. Ever the strategic player on the global stage, Russia has been quietly cementing its military ties with a number of African nations. A key component of this strategy has been the sale of Russian arms to nations such as Egypt, Sudan, and the Central African Republic. But it doesn't stop there. Russia has also been providing military training, sharing its decades' worth of experience and expertise to these nations. This move has understandably raised eyebrows in Washington, as Moscow's growing military influence on the continent becomes more pronounced. But what's an empire without its treasure trove? In Africa, Russia has found a veritable goldmine of resources. Russian companies, notably Rosneft and Alrosa, have made significant investments in Africa's oil, gas, and diamond sectors. These sectors are crucial to Africa's economic growth, and Russia's involvement represents a direct challenge to US energy and mineral interests in the region. Rosneft, for example, is a major player in the global oil industry, and its investments in Africa further bolster its influence and reach. Alrosa, on the other hand, is one of the world's leading diamond producers, and its operations in Africa help to solidify its position in the global diamond market. These investments are not just about economic gain, they also serve a strategic purpose. By investing in Africa's resource sectors, Russia is able to secure a steady supply of critical resources, while also gaining a foothold in a region that is increasingly becoming a battleground for global powers. As we can see, Russia's interests in Africa are not limited to energy and military sectors. Now, let's look at infrastructure development and information and communication technologies. Russian firms have been increasingly active in African infrastructure projects, leaving their mark on the construction of roads, bridges, and industrial facilities across the continent. This not only showcases Russia's commitment to bolstering Africa's physical infrastructure, but also signals its strategic interest in the region. In parallel, Russia's presence in the information and communication technologies sector is also noteworthy. Companies like Rostec are championing ICT projects, offering African nations viable alternatives to American tech companies. These initiatives are aimed at bridging the digital divide and empowering African societies with cutting-edge technology, further solidifying Russia's influence. Whether we're talking about the tarmac under your feet or the phone in your hand, it's clear Russia's engagement in Africa is multifaceted, and its footprint is growing. However, Russia's engagement in Africa extends beyond infrastructure and technology. Moving on, we explore Russia's involvement in agriculture, space cooperation, and medical and pharmaceutical cooperation. When it comes to agriculture, Russia is planting seeds of cooperation with various African nations. The goal is to enhance food security and promote agricultural development. This move could potentially challenge US agricultural interests on the continent. However, Russia's approach is not simply about competition. It's also about building sustainable food systems that can withstand the pressures of climate change and population growth. Next, let's rocket into space, where Russia is also making its mark. Russia has signed several agreements with African countries to launch satellites and initiate space exploration projects. These ventures into the cosmos are not just about the thrill of discovery. They also have practical applications, such as improving telecommunications, monitoring environmental changes, and aiding in disaster management. These partnerships could potentially challenge US space-related endeavors in Africa. Lastly, we turn to the health sector. Russian pharmaceutical companies have been establishing partnerships with African nations to provide medical supplies and promote the export of Russian-made medicines. In an era where health crises can quickly become global, these partnerships are critical. They not only improve access to essential medicines, but also strengthen health systems and build capacity for research and development. As we can see, Russia's engagement in Africa is multifaceted. It's about more than just politics or economics. It's about fostering sustainable development and building partnerships that benefit both parties. But Russia's interests in Africa aren't purely economic or technological. Lastly, let's touch upon cultural and educational exchanges and diplomatic and political engagements. Russia is not just focusing on the hard power aspects of its relationship with Africa, but also the soft power. Its increasing cultural and educational ties with African nations are a testament to this. Through scholarships, exchange programs, and cultural events, Russia is fostering closer diplomatic relationships and a deeper understanding between its people and those of Africa. On the diplomatic front, Russia has been actively engaging in political efforts to strengthen its relations with African countries. One of the most notable examples is the hosting of the Russia-Africa Summit in 2019, where various agreements and partnerships were established, further solidifying Russia's commitment to its African partners. These diverse projects illustrate Russia's strategic interest in Africa and its efforts to expand its influence on the continent. So, what does all this mean for Africa and the rest of the world? As we've seen, Russia is actively expanding its influence across Africa, from nuclear energy partnerships and military alliances to resource extraction and infrastructure development. This not only strengthens Russia's global position, but also creates a new dynamic in the geopolitical arena, potentially challenging the interests of other global powers, such as the United States. The implications are vast and varied. For African nations, these partnerships could bring much-needed investment and expertise in key sectors like energy, agriculture, and ICT. However, they also risk increasing dependency on Russia and could potentially lead to conflicts of interest with other international partners. In the broader international context, Russia's growing presence in Africa could escalate geopolitical competition, particularly with the United States. This could result in a strategic race to secure alliances, resources, and influence on the continent, While the future of Russia's role in Africa remains uncertain, what's clear is that its increasing presence on the continent is reshaping the geopolitical landscape.